Okay, simplify. Square root of 1053. Start dividing. Okay, so I start at 225. Nope. Next, it's on to 196. Nope. 169. Nope. 144. Nope. 121. Nope. 100, it's not going to work. It has to end in 2 zeros for it to be 100. Okay. 81. Yup. So I rewrite that as the square root of 81 times the square root of 13. Okay, and the square root of 81 is 9. Okay, so you rewrite that as 9 whole square root 13. Okay, 70 start dividing, but then 70 is not divisible by 64. If you divide by all these, you're going to get decimals until you get to 1. So my next best alternative is to circle it, and then the square root of 100. 100 is a perfect square, so the square root of 100 is 10. 10 whole. Don't put square root of 10. Okay, now simplifying various expressions. Now to simplify with variables in a square root. We make our own square root, and then we just put the square root of 75 and then divide into the 75. So 75 divided by 64, that's first perfect square, that's less, doesn't work. 49, nope. 36, nope. 25, okay, so I rewrite that as 25 and 3. Square root of 25 times the square root of 3. And the square root of 25 is 5 whole. So 5 goes outside and then 3 goes inside. Now, x to the 5th. 5 is an odd number, so you put x inside and then just take that down 1 to 4 and then take half of 4, which is 2. Okay. That's even, so you won't have y inside. You just take half of 6, which is y to the 3rd. Okay, multiplication, that's 3 steps. Okay, first I multiply the two outer factors, 3 by 4, that's 12. And then I multiply the square root of 5, square root of 15. 5 times 15 is 75. Now I divide into the 75. And I just did that one. I know 75 is going to divide by 25. Okay. So I drop my whole factor I already have of 12, and then I rewrite that in 2 square roots. There's going to be another whole factor in there, 25, 3. And that whole factor is 5. Okay, and then I multiply 12 times 5, which is 60, with the square root of 3. Okay, addition. First off, I look under the square roots, and they're different. So I can't do the adding operation right now, so I need to attempt to rewrite the problem. So 8 square root 48, 7 square root 75. Okay, so 48 is not a perfect square, so divide into it. And 48 divided by 36 decimal, and 25 decimal, 16. Okay, so I rewrite this 48 as 16 times 3. So I drop the whole factor I already have, and 16 and 3. So that becomes 4, and then 8 times 4 is 32. So I have 32 whole cube root 3. Okay, and then the square root of 75, dang it, 75's come up a lot here. I know it divides by 25, okay? So I know I can rewrite that as 25 and 3. So it becomes 5. 7 times 5 is 35 square whole with the square root of 3. Okay, now the numbers under the radicals are the same, so I have the square root of 3 on both terms. Now I can do the adding operation. 32 plus 35 is 67. 67 square root 3. Okay, special triangles. Okay, so we got to solve for x and y. So I need, if I'm finding two sides, I need to use proportions, but I don't use sine, cosine, tangent. I just go 7 over x and 7 over y. Okay, so across from the 90 is 2 whole. Across from 60 is square root 3. So y is proportional to the square root of 3, and then 7 is proportional to 1 whole. So I put 7 with 1 and x with 2. Okay. And then 7's with 1, and then that's a y. Okay, that's a y. And then y is with square root 3. Okay, so here I'm free to do whatever. 7 times 2 is 14, divided by 1 is still 14. So x is equal to 14, which makes sense. 7's with 1, 14's with 2. Okay, now here I don't multiply, I write the expression. 7 square root 3 divided by 1 would still be 7 square root 3. That's my y length. Those x and y. Okay, 45, 45, 90. Same thing, same idea. So you're going to get 6 over x, 6 over y. So the hypotenuse on a 45, 45, 90, the hypotenuse is always proportional to the square root of 2, and then the other ones are proportional to 1. Okay, so 6 is with square root of 2, x is with 1, and then pretty much I have the same thing. So whatever I get for x, y is the same. Okay, now this works a little bit different. So 6 times 1 is 6, divided by the square root of 2. Now, what I need to do when I'm dividing by a square root is I bring square root 2 to the top, and that allows me to get rid of the square root off the 2, and I can now divide 6 by 2, which is 3. So 3 square root 2 equals x. And then you're going to get the same thing for y, because it's the exact same proportion. 3 square root 2 equals y. Okay, so when you're dividing by a square root, you bring the square root to the top, and then you can get rid of the square root, and so forth. Okay, find the 3 trig ratios of the sine of theta, cosine theta, tangent theta. So sine is the opposite over the hypotenuse, cosine's the adjacent over the hypotenuse, and the tangent's the opposite over the adjacent. Now, what side's what? Okay, so that's my hypotenuse. I don't know that. Across from the theta is my opposite, which is 10, and then my adjacent 6. Okay. Now, had that theta sign been here, then that would have been O, and that would have been A. So my Pythagorean theorem, usually it's a squared, b squared, c squared, but I modify it so it's a squared plus o squared. O is like your b, and then the hypotenuse is like your c. So the a I have 6 to the second, the o I have 10 to the second, and the h is unknown. So that gives me 36 plus 100 equals h to the second. Now, these are on the same side. I just add those. That's 136 equals h to the second, and then I find the square root of 136 to find the actual h value. Okay, 11.66, so the one after it will keep it at 11.66. Okay, so O you got 10, 11.66. A you got 6, 11.66. And O is 10, and A is 6. You can reduce it to 5 over 3. I'm not giving you any extra credit points for that. Okay, find the 3 sides and 3 angle measurements. Okay, so here are my sides, and I only know one of them, so that's H. And it's not a 30, 60, 90. It's not a 45, 45, 90, so you got to use OA and H, and then your sine, cosine, tangent. Okay, so 34 degrees is my reference angle, and that's O, and then A is 7. So I know A is 7, okay? So if I know I'm doing OA and H, I need to put 1 and then the degrees in a parentheses on top of the 1. Okay, now I got to do sine, cosine, tangent of 34. Now the 2 sides I don't know are O and H. The one side I do know is A. So A has to be in each proportion because I have a 7 to put in that. Okay, so O and A would be the tangent operation. That's O on top, A on bottom, says so here. H and A, that's cosine. That's A on top, H on bottom. So you got to refer to this. And our A is 7, so 7 and 7. Okay, now here's my variable. It's diagonal from 1. Okay, so I'm putting 1 on the bottom and then I multiply the diagonal. Okay, tan 34 times 7. Okay, I got 4.72 divided by 1. I would still be at 4.72, so that's your O. Now, I don't know what H is, but it better be higher than 7 because that has to be the longest side. So this time, cos 34 is diagonal from H, so that goes on bottom. And then 1 times 7 is 7, okay? Cross products. So 7 divided by cos 34 is 8.44. And I know I did it right because my hypotenuse is the greatest side length. Okay, your degrees are easy. You got 90 and 34. That's given information. And then to find the third one, you take 180 minus 90 minus 34. That's going to give you 56, so 56 degrees. Okay, then I need you to find the area of the regular polygon. It's a pentagon. It's got 5 sides. So again, that's S times N times A divided by 2. Okay, so the side length is 16. The number of sides is 5. Okay, now I got to find the A myself, the apothem. Okay, again, that's that imaginary line from the center, perpendicular, meaning it forms a right angle to there. Cut it in half. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to need to use proportions to solve it. There's going to be a degree, and I'm finding my A. Okay, and it's always going to be A and O because that's my O, and it's 8 units long. Okay, don't need the 16 anymore. Okay, but I got to know how many degrees it is. Okay, so again, I take 360 degrees divided by the number of sides, but then you have to divide it by 2 because just dividing by 5 finds the angle for one of these. Well, then it's not a right triangle. Okay, so again, divided by 5 is finding how many degrees would be in there. Okay, and then dividing by 2 cuts it in half. So 360 divided by 5 divided by 2 is 36 degrees. Okay. And that's why the O is 8. You know O, okay, you're finding A. So 36 degrees, and then A and O is always the tangent, okay? You don't ever use sine and cosine because those include H. Well, I don't care about H. I just care about A and O. So it's O, A, and I know that my O is 8, and I'm finding the apothem. So A is diagonal from tan 36. So tan 36 goes in the denominator, and then 1 times 8 is 8. So I take 8 divided by tan 36. And that's 11.01. That's your apothem. Okay, so I find the product on top and then divide it by 2. Okay, 440.4. And that's square units, so it's going to be, just units, I guess. So units to the second power. I didn't tell you what unit it was.